Khan, on behalf of Iris Jura, moderator of the today's session, welcome you all to second webinar series on the future of virtual court hearing. Now, talking about our organization Iris Jura, or Iris Jura is an e-learning platform for all the legal learners and aspirants, which started in year 2020. The main aim behind the organization is to benefit you all in the best possible manner in legal learning and to create legal awareness all along and to showcase the hidden talent by various events. Moving on to the participants, if you all have any questions during the session, please raise your hand at the end of the session. The host will unmute you and then one by one you can ask your question. Kindly attend both the sessions, today's and a day after tomorrow's session, and we would be providing the feedback link after the second session. Now, without wasting much time, we will turn the time over to our esteemed speakers. It's an honor for us and a privilege to our participants to have among us Advocate Jayant Bhatt sir and Advocate Anushka Bhardwaj Arora ma'am. Advocate Jayant Bhatt sir is an independent litigator based in New Delhi. Sir is the member of Supreme Court Bar Association and Delhi High Court Bar Association. Sir was the former member of International Bar Association. Sir holds a dual master degree of law from New York University, USA, and the National University in Singapore. Also, in the past, Sir has worked with the dispute resolution and litigation team of the prestigious firm of Clyde and Company LLP in Dubai for 2 years. His chamber caters to clients like government, non-government, and various multinational corporations. Moving ahead to the next speaker, Advocate Anushka Bhardwaj ma'am. Ma'am has pursued her BLLB honors from USLLS and her LLM from National University of Singapore on IPR. Ma'am is an independent practicing advocate at the Delhi High Court. Ma'am has represented various clients, including top tier companies, firms, and individual over IP and commercial matters. She has worked in Singapore for 6 months with 3 different law offices. She is the awardee of Ram Jethmalani Award for the overall performance and academic excellence. She is the former vice chairman of Young Lawyers Division of Indian National Association of Legal Professionals. She is the part of ILSA Phillips C. Jessup International Law Moot Family and had been judging oral rounds and memorial at national and international levels. Now moving on to the topic, this pandemic and the consequent lockdown have forced the legal profession into overnight digitalization. For the first time in the history of profession, the apex court of India and the other subordinate court are hearing matters virtually due to the social distancing norms. With these words, we would start with the session. Sir, are we ready to start? Ma'am, sir, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Sir, first question is for Jayant, sir. Sir, can you please throw some light on overview of future of virtual courts hearing?
Yes, sir. I think it's going to be very bright. In fact, right before coming to the session, I was just reading the parliamentary report which has been tabled. It has just been reported. I think it has been tabled today before Mr. Venkaiah Naidu in Rajya Sabha. It's the 103rd parliamentary report, which says that the virtual courts in the country should go on even after post-pandemic. And I must encourage all the audience to go through this report. It's now available online. It's just a 34-page report, which categorically discusses the length and breadth of why virtual courts are necessary, not just in India, world over, how we can take inspiration from other countries. They have given a huge database, the advantages for lawyers and litigants, for judges, and they've also given the flip side of the argument by the stakeholder, including the Department of Justice, Department of Law, Bar Council of India, the Secretary of the Supreme Court, and all the other bar associations overview and have also been taken into consideration. So I think it's the right way to go forward. Personally speaking, as a lawyer, since the lockdown, we have all been participating virtually in different fora across the country, whether it be the Honorable Supreme Court, High Court, or different trial courts or tribunals. I think it has become, I would say, amazingly, convenient, not just as a lawyer, but also, for a lot of litigants to have a transparent judicial system. And I think that is actually, the call for the day. Because how do you categorize VC when you say VC or a virtual court, and when you think of the court system, it's a service industry, and in a service industry, we are not selling goods, we are selling, not even selling, we are promoting services. So justice and courts fall under the service category, and the whole idea of justice is to be prompt. I'm not saying that justice hurried is justice buried, but if justice is prompt, more and more people will have this confidence in the judicial system all the more. And I think on 20th of April this year, when Supreme Court under Article 142 took the decision of digitizing or heralding the decision of digitizing the courts of this country, along with other stakeholders from the executive and the legislature, it was a welcome move. And Supreme Court was the first court in the country to start this amazing virtual court scenario, which has now been followed by different high courts in the country, and also different trial courts are also now following suit. So I think we are in the right direction. And as my lawyer colleague Anushka ji is also here, I'm sure she will agree with how the courts have been, and we are, I think, certainly moving in the right direction.
Thank you so much, sir, for providing the overview about it. Now, next question is for Anushka ma'am. Ma'am, can you enlighten with your words about the future of virtual court hearing?
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all, and thank you for having us here also. And it's a pleasure once again to share the screen with Mr. Jayant sir.
Thank you.
I completely agree with the views of Mr. Jayant here in terms to convenience, also transparent judicial system, and also prompt justice being delivered that we hope that VC will definitely do. Adding to a little bit more to what my senior just spoke on the said question, is that coming straight from the wordings of the Honorable Supreme Court Justice D.Y. Chandrachud sir, who, while addressing a webinar organized by students of NALSA, explicitly mentioned that the concept of virtual hearings in the future of virtual hearings will definitely be a very good game and a game changer for young lawyers especially. Why is that so? Because it now will not make any difference as to who shares the said platform. Everything would be shared by young lawyers in terms to now there will be no hierarchy that we used to witness when fellow seniors used to argue over the platform. So this is one thing that I feel also being a young lawyer that it will definitely open up the scope for young lawyers today. And not only that, but it will also be an avenue that more and more students of law who graduate will now definitely like to choose litigation as an option, which was sort of not being taken up much by lawyers coming even from top tier law schools. But with the advent of technology coming into play, everything going digital and we all arguing and presenting our matters over virtual hearings will be seen as a very lucrative option, and this technology coming into the picture will definitely interest young lawyers into litigation more and more, and which are supporting words of the Supreme Court Honorable Justice D.Y. Chandrachud sir. So adding to this, I feel that definitely the future is really bright in terms to the matters being taken up through virtual hearings. Also, I feel that rest everything has definitely been summed up by my senior today. But I do understand that there are few loopholes and there are few glitches that we are experiencing in terms to virtual hearings, which definitely, if anything is new, that definitely will cause sort of slight pains or glitches in the beginning. But I'm sure that we all are gradually coming into the system and are trying to make a change in terms to how the old-fashioned hearings used to happen. So overall, I feel this is a very, very good step in terms to how hearings are being conducted. And in fact, this was actually a need of the hour, because no one could actually step out at the time when the entire country was facing the wrath of COVID-19. And I'm sure that in times to come, this virus is not leaving us far. So this will definitely be the situation and the mode of hearing in which we all have to adapt ourselves. And even if once we do get vaccines, I feel that this option of virtual court hearing should never ever go, should always be there as an option to litigants and also to counsels to appear and present matters. So this was my take on this question.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is for Jain sir. Sir, can you provide us with some information relating to virtual court versus physical court, its feasibility and legality?
Look, definitely it's feasible. If it was not feasible, we'll not be discussing this topic here today. It's as simple as that. March end, the lockdown was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister, and thereafter, I think the courts have ensured that the litigants don't suffer at the cost of this lockdown. Businesses don't suffer, and people, come to the court because it's the last bastion of their hope. The judiciary, that is. The idea is, as opposed to physical courts, and personally speaking, from my personal point of view, because this is my 13th year of practice. And what I've realized, either as a junior member of the bar, when I used to be, as a junior trainee in a law office, now being an independent litigator, what I've realized is, there was a lot of running around involved. And that, I think, has, I would say, a lot of time saving has occurred because of virtual court hearing. Today, sitting at the convenience of my office or of my home, or whatever physical structure I have to avail, I can cover multiple forums. I can be in a court hearing. I can do a Zoom meeting with my team members or with my interns. I can do a webinar, without wasting time. So the essence is, how do you give justice to people? Justice has to be effective and it has to be seen. It can't be opaque. So I think it is also tremendously helping a lot of litigants, because a lot of my acquaintances and people I know, not just my clients, but even other people I know socially, I was talking to them and they were quite, praiseworthy of the virtual court hearing, that, now even their lawyers are sending them the links. They just have to click the link, even if they're sitting in their factory or in their houses or wherever they are, even if they're traveling, by car, they can just log in. They don't have to switch on their video, but they can see their court proceedings. So this, in a way, is also live streaming of a court proceeding, which was unheard of, in India, at least traditionally speaking. But, we must take inspiration, as I said, from other countries, because as I just told you about this 103rd Parliamentary Committee report, it has been chaired by Mr. Bhupinder Yadav, who is, the Member of Parliament. And the committee report has been prepared by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha members. I think overall 30 members have put their brains to it, amongst the other stakeholders of the judiciary and Ministry of Justice. So we must look as to what are the positives. As Anusha ji always said, that there will be teething problems whenever you start something, but we have to overcome that. We have a population of 1 billion people, so we have to look at the advantage and how to make justice reach out to these 1 billion people in a very fast and in an economic manner. So for example, let's say I'll not even go 2 years back. Let's say just this year, when pandemic had not hit our shores and when the lockdown had not happened, if a client had to come from, let's say, Kerala to Supreme Court just to fight his matter, which, he would have contested in, let's say, Kerala High Court or in the trial court in Kerala, then today, because of the advantage of virtual court hearing, he can just log on, or either on his phone or on a laptop or on a neighbor's phone if he's financially, poor or backward. And, he doesn't have to personally book a train ticket or a flight ticket or book a hotel. So not only are we saving money for the litigant, we are also saving money for the court. So why court? Because now the government does not have to pump in so much of money in creating an infrastructure. I don't have to create additional courts today. Yes, I have to create a better infrastructure in terms of internet, in terms of how speedy the internet is, whether every judge has a laptop, that is a hardware, a robust software in place. So if those things, and to some extent they have been taken care of, otherwise we would not be effectively hearing virtual courts hearing today. So let's say, as I said, a litigant from all the way from Kerala coming to Supreme Court in Delhi, and besides the lawyer fees, incurring so much expenditure on his whole travel, that, expenses saved, that also tantamounts to justice. So justice is not just what you see in court. It is also what a common man in the country feels when, they are trying to figure out the judicial system or when they are fighting for justice. So I think it has a wider connotation to it. All said and done, I think people have spoken to personally, and not just my lawyer brothers and sisters who are based out in Delhi, even, outside Delhi and, from foreign countries also. I've had a discussion with them. They are all in support of virtual court hearings, because it is the next best thing to happen to not just lawyers, to not just judges, but to people at large. And that is what the traditional sense of jurisprudence, of justice is, and that is how it should be in the time to come.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for providing the feasibility of virtual court hearings. Now, the next question is for Anushka, ma'am. Ma'am, can virtual court replace open hearings?
Uh, well, this is a little controversial right now as to giving any stand whether or not it can replace is something really far-fetched as of now that I can say. But before I give my views, my personal views over this, I would like to substantiate my beginning with what Honorable Justice D.Y. Chandrachud sir said while addressing the webinar organized by NALSA, in which I had just quoted him before too. He said that an open court hearing is the spine of the judicial delivery system and cannot be substituted by virtual courts. And furthermore, now when we dig into various other provisions or the stand of law that we have in front of us, be it from the Constitution or be it from the Civil Procedure Code or be it from the Criminal Procedure Code, if I quote Article 145(4) of the Constitution of India, and that provides that no judgment shall be delivered by the Supreme Court other than in an open court. So there are certain things in which we need to understand how will we proceed if we would like to totally go into for a virtual court hearing system, or if we would want to set up a manner in which half of the things would be virtually heard or some things would be physically done. So there are many things before giving a recommendation or giving a stand whether or not we see a virtual court hearing can replace open hearings. Because as my senior just pointed out, Mr. Jayant, that there are many advantages linked to a virtual court hearing. Be it a lot of money is saved for litigants, a lot of the courts can actually now act in a can expedite matters, can sit and can hear matters in a better fashion. And also there are many other advantages that are linked today, in which I, at the convenience of my office, I can definitely come online and do a virtual court hearing, or maybe the amount of running that used to be done can now be easily done at the cost of me sitting in my own office or in my own space, and thereafter just file documents or file things which I want to file, the different sort of applications that I want to file, which unlike in at times of our physical hearings, either the counsel or maybe the clerks had to go and stand in lines and then file applications, so on and so forth. But there are many associated advantages that we get if we talk about virtual court hearings. However, keeping many things in mind, I feel that it is difficult that virtual court hearings can replace open hearings. That is primarily for the main reason of different aspects that I will now like to point out. First of all, out of my personal experience only, if we talk about criminal matters filed in district courts, the clients right now have this sort of understanding that until unless they're not in the court, justice will not be delivered. Also, there is this thing that once you are online and you are on a virtual court hearing, you face a lot of disturbances as of now. As I just pointed out in my beginning, that right now there are glitches because we right now are trying to understand this new technology, and definitely once we have a new shoe that bites. So in order to make us accustomed and comfortable, we need to go through that process for some time at least, and then we will get the result that we're looking at. However, right now, there are certain aspects that I feel even in the future, if we talk about future virtual court hearings, the amount of understanding in which we used to physically demonstrate our case in front of the judge, I feel that sort of aggression and that sort of the perseverance in which we used to stand before the judge will actually be not there in terms to if we talk about virtual court hearings. Also, right now, if you can see, out of my personal experience, none of my matters have gone for evidences right now. And they are still waiting for physical hearings to start. Or if there is an option, the evidences are being done physically itself. So if you talk about completely switching to virtual court hearings, such sort of scenarios in which we would want to record evidences or evidence is the next step in a matter, that would be difficult to be carried out in a virtual court. Why? Because I, as a lawyer, or my client who's literate, who's educated, will definitely understand that, yeah, we are right now in front of a court hearing, and that is the judge who's sitting. For example, I, as a witness, would want to bring a driver. Now this driver, now if he stands in my office, he will not understand who is he looking into. For him, it will be only that I am looking in front of a TV, and that's it. I mean, that will not, that will not really fetch us what exactly we are looking for. But on the contrary, if such sort of witnesses are produced in court, the moment people enter court, half of the if I say the डर जो पैदा होता है वो बिल्कुल भी ऐसे virtual court hearings में नहीं आएगा. That is something that I have personally felt, and this is the main reason I feel that it will not be entirely the physical court hearings, but definitely for some physical aspects, in terms to normal court hearings, definitely we should go forward with virtual court hearings, and that should be for the time. But certain aspects in terms to argument or in terms to evidences can definitely be carried out once the situation is over in terms in physical hearing.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for providing the view about it. Moving on, next question is for Jayant sir. Sir, can you please elaborate on the application of virtual court hearing in Supreme Court and in different high courts?
So when you say application, do you mean moving applications, or in how they are being conducted?
How they have been conducted, sir?
Right. So look, they are conducting as normally as possible. But just to substantiate what Anushka ma'am just said, is that especially in a criminal matter, especially in matters where trials are pending, I think there's some disturbance I'm hearing in the background. Some phone, Nasimuddin, can you just mute yourself? Maybe I think it's your phone which is causing some. Yeah, this is better. Let me just carry on. So far as the applications are concerned, I think that there are, so far as trials are concerned, there are certain handicaps, but they can be overcome. But we'll have to devise a mechanism. In fact, about a month or two ago, I had given a similar webinar on VCs where my suggestion was for people who are in remote corners of the country, especially in villages, talukas, mufassals, etc. Everywhere you either have a panchayat or at least you have a SDM office. DM or SDM is always there. So, what can be done, at least as a matter of suggestion, if you are far away from a district court or a mufassal court or even from a high court, you can go to these SDM, courts or SDM office, and they can have a portal where your identity can be verified, and you can then depose yourself as a witness so that there is complete transparency in trial. That is something we can always work upon. Then there are also e-sevas in a lot of district courts and high court across the country, where again on a similar model, you have these rooms, dedicated electronic rooms or e-rooms, which provide services free of cost to litigants who cannot avail services either because they do not have a phone or a hardware or a laptop, and they do not know how to use software. Because you still have to realize that though we are a population of 1 billion people, half of our population still does not have mobile telephone connectivity or mobile phones also. So it's not that everybody has. And even talking of my lawyer brethren, in the court, not every lawyer has a smartphone. So that can be a handicap in terms of when you are trying to communicate with your clients, when you're trying to address a particular court. And I'll give you 2-3 examples. So before Delhi High Court, because we keep regularly appearing in the VC. So there was a time when I think one lawyer appeared and he was speaking on the phone and he was not visible. But despite that, the Honorable Court accommodated the lawyer and said, please do not worry, you advance your arguments and we'll hear you. You don't have to panic. So that was a very good thing. That is the whole idea of justice. You don't have to be seen all the time. Yes, if you're visually available, it definitely gives judge, the opposite party, the litigant, a better perspective of your personality. They can read you better, because that's what courtcraft and advocacy is all about, that you must be also able to read the other person, read the mood of the judge, read mood of the other counsel, how they are going to react to a particular situation. So that is a little bit of handicap, but that can be overcome, because the way virtual courts are being conducted on a day-to-day basis, they are actually supplementing the real court hearing. So if you have a good data connection, if you have a good networking speed, and if everybody can be on video, then you will have the advantage of looking at the other person with an equal ease. Then that is number one. The other thing, I'll give you an example. I had this matter in Nainital High Court just about 2 weeks ago, and we had a special hearing on Sunday. The hearing went on for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and then it was on Sunday. And my client was, she had gone to Dehradun. It was a matrimonial custody matter. So the judges in Nainital High Court, and I was sitting in Delhi, made special accommodation by directing the CMM, so the CJM there, the Chief Judicial Magistrate, to make special provision on a Sunday and even on a Saturday for a video conference facility to be availed by both the parties sitting in Dehradun District Court. The case was being heard at a writ of habeas corpus in Nainital High Court, and I was advancing my argument sitting in Delhi. So this is the advantage, that the courts are availing in the country today. And I have been beneficial to as a lawyer, because my client, physically she wanted to be with her child who was based out of Dehradun. In my past, whenever I have gone to Nainital High Court for advancing arguments and for arguing there, it has taken at least 6 hours of road journey. And then, you request your client to book you a hotel, because then that's an expense for the client, as I said. And then you have to, prepare yourself, go before the court. And that's a good experience, because, it's like a small also holiday when you go to a hill station. The environment is different. You're looking at a new court. You're meeting new colleagues. That's experience that is not happening as of now because of virtual court hearing. But having said that, the advantages are many. I saved 6 hours of my drive time in a situation like this pandemic. My client could sit in a court premises in Dehradun under the supervision, of a particular judge and the staff. And the High Court judges were, sitting at the residences on a Sunday, and they conducted video conference hearing seamlessly. So this is the idea of giving justice to people, fighting for justice, and creating a robust system which inculcates confidence in people of this country, and not just this country. The whole idea of when we say, that India is a difficult place for ease of business, it is because of so many judicial roadblocks created by the parties themselves. So if we have a willingness where, businesses can say, look, today, Indian courts are doing VC, there is no time lag, the infrastructure is robust, it's solid, the lawyers are, on point, digital filing is happening without any delay, orders are being given to you through emails within seconds. Why would no business that come to India, and why would not then people want to come to court and litigate? It's good businesses for lawyers also. We have to think of long-term, and just to give you a parallel, because when I started my career in Dubai, so UAE has this concept of litigating from the lowest court of the country to the highest court of the country within 3 years of time span. So they have a time span also to adjudicate matters from the district court to the apex court. Similarly, we also need to develop a time span, because there are other problems that we need to overcome. We need to have more number of judges. We still need to have good funding for judiciary. So all those things, I think, are being addressed as I speak, by the stakeholders. But as I said, Supreme Court has already taken the matter, wonderfully well. High courts have followed the suits, and under the supervision of High Court, as I just gave the example of Nainital High Court and Dehradun District Court, things are being wonderfully done. Are there hiccups? Yes, but can those hiccups be overcome? They are being overcome as we speak. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Thank you so much, sir, for addressing the application of VC in High Court and Supreme Court. Now, moving on, ma'am, can you tell us about the application of virtual hearing in district courts in particular?
Absolutely. Unlike the Supreme Court and the High Court, the District Court is also trying its very best to match the levels of the present scenario in which we are developing the entire know-how of a virtual court hearing system. Definitely matters are being heard expeditiously. Also, filing has become very easy in district courts. Now it's an email in which you need to just, get everything scanned with the court fees and affidavits attached. And you can send it to that email ID, concerned email ID of which are already there at the facilitation centers mentioned. Thereafter, you get a prompt response in 24 hours from the staff out there. And they tell that they've already forwarded this matter to the reader. They give you a number of the reader also, and they give the email of the reader also. They tell you that the matter is listed in the next day. This faster filing I've never seen in district court.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible, ma'am.
Yeah, I think the something happened. We got unmute on its own. Anyway, so this filing of matters in district court was never. I've never witnessed such a quick filing, at least, and it was very easy and it was very hassle-free for me also, and also the client was also happy at the end of the day that not many objections came forward, and filing just happened. And the day I filed, in 1-2 days, my matter got listed also at 10 a.m. And then I got the number also of the reader, and thereafter I could call the reader and I could ask him as to when is my case, when shall I come, tomorrow at 10 a.m. or not. So, and definitely it's for everyone's convenience today. In times of such pandemic, we cannot go out. I mean, we cannot also go, we can't go possibly think of that gathering that we used to see, in which there's an entire pool of court staff, there's the judge, there are the counsels, there are the litigants, everybody is there. So everyone at their own spaces, even in district courts, are finding it easy to switch on their laptops and computers and get onto virtual court hearings. However, in the district court, I feel that still there are many glitches in terms to when a hearing is being conducted. I feel that is because maybe the application is not updated, or maybe the internet speed is not that great. So because of that, either if I am presenting my matter, there are some disruptions that happen. Because of those disruptions, neither the judge nor the reader, no one can actually hear me. Or it's vice versa. The judge is saying something, maybe at times I've faced glitches in which, and that's happened quite often. And the judge is delivering the order maybe, and I can't listen to the order because the judge has gone on mute, or maybe there is a disruption in the internet from the side of the judge. Thereafter, the honorable judge has to again switch off the entire application, again reboot the internet. Then after 20 minutes or so has to come back. So meanwhile, everyone is actually waiting. And so these are some small glitches which are happening. And I'm pretty sure and confident that, as I mentioned, that every new shoe bites. So because this is a new concept altogether, I'm pretty sure in the pace in which we are handling it, we'll definitely go out of these glitches. But at presently, this is out of my personal experience in the district courts that I have been experiencing. Also, as Mr. Jayant did point out, that orders are being delivered on email, and it's being very prompt, at least in the High Court and Supreme Court. But in the district court, yet again, the orders are either not uploaded on the website, or the orders are not. The judge definitely says that the order will be received to us within next, by the end of the day. But till date, orders don't come. So we need to still pursue the readers and ask them as to please, give us the order, or etc., or something, or other follow-ups. So this is something that's happening in the district court. However, the attempt to maintain the pace is very, very, it's remarkable. However, there's only one more thing that I would like to point out in terms to application of virtual court hearings in district court, is in terms to the temperaments of the court staff that is there. So when I say temperaments, I mean that definitely we all knew while even filing of matters or going to the Elmers or going to the reader to ask something, they never used to entertain advocates much. I understand because of work pressure, but now that the workload has dramatically and drastically increased on them, because even at 9 and 10, they're receiving calls from counsels. So the temperaments and the agitation is actually increased if I talk about district court. So if supposedly I have a matter listed tomorrow, a fresh hearing, I call up the reader and I've just got an email that my matter is listed for 10 a.m. At 9 p.m. I've got this email and I'm supposed to contact the reader. I call the reader at 10 p.m. when I receive the email, because my matter is tomorrow 10 a.m. so I cannot waste time. So now I call him, and because obviously this is a new concept for me too, and it's a new concept for my fellow counsels and my fellow advocates as well. And not many people have an answer to what my query is. So the best answer that can be answered would be by the reader itself or the court staff. So now when I call him at 10 p.m., what happens is that if I ask him a question or two, the agitation rises up. And the remarks that, anyone who's there on the phone gets that I am already having 4 or 5 more councils on the line. So you please get done with it quickly. So this is something that because of the work burden, I feel that the temperament and the agitation is increasing a little because of the work pressure also that has increased, because there's no set time now. It's whenever. So I feel, but gradually, definitely things will come back to normal. And this is something about the procedure or the application procedures in the district courts, which I have been personally facing.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for providing your experience in the district court. Now, the next question is for Jayant sir. Sir, how transparency would be maintained in a virtual hearing?
I think it's already being maintained. The fact that now the litigants can, at the convenience of a click of a button, can watch online hearing. The thing is, because I think the court is still using Cisco WebEx, so it has a good format where people, are still made to wait in a lobby. So at least if you're marking your appearance in a high court, so you have a lobby, and only when your matter is called upon will you be, entertained. As opposed to a trial court, you are given a time and then you go and there are not many people. So sometimes the judge has to ask a lot of lawyers also who are not trained in a VC that, please switch off your camera, please switch off your mic. So that becomes a matter of a little court etiquette, which we are getting used to. But transparency is there, because what these things like Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx or Zoom has done is that not only do you have the facility of everybody looking at the court proceedings, in a fair manner, in a transparent manner, but also they can be recorded for future purposes. So I think traditionally in some state we used to have this word called Jimny. So even in Delhi, it was a Jimny which would translate into English as a court transcript. So in America, when you're arguing a matter, there is a person who keeps typing all the arguments by the lawyers and the judges as an observation. So we also used to have that, but that has, at least in Delhi, it has been done away with. But I think with these recordings, even if you have made a submission which was not rightly recorded in an order, should be recorded through these VCs, and that's a good thing. That's a fair move towards transparent court system, and especially for lawyers, because many times in traditional court hearing, a lawyer would say, "My lords, or your ladyship, I made this submission; it has not been recorded," and the judge would, just tell you very in a plain manner, "Look, we don't remember because we do 50, 100 matters a day. You should have told us back then." But with these recordings, with these live hearings, I think even the judges would not have that excuse to say, okay, because then they can always replay. Just like a movie, you can replay, rewind, and see whether the submission was made or not, either by a court staff or a judge. So I think it's the best thing to have happened to us by default in this pandemic, that VC started to happen, and people have embraced it so beautifully. It's ease of business, it's ease of justice, it's ease of access to justice. So all those things combined together, I think we have a bright future, provided, there is a common will by all the stakeholders to not create unnecessary impediments for this. And that is very important.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on, the next question is for Anushka ma'am. Ma'am, is maintaining a courtroom decorum a dilemma?
It definitely is. It definitely is. Why? Because I will not have much to say and to comment about the decorum. We all are witnesses to whatever has been happening in virtual courts and during virtual courts, be it Supreme Court or be it district courts of not Delhi but other areas. So I feel it's a little difficult to control this. However, I also feel that now that we are now into the direction in which we've gone towards the incorporation of a virtual court hearing, and we are planning strategies as to how a virtual court hearing can successfully run. I feel that now there definitely needs to be a strict imposition of certain maybe penalties. We do have, but then it should be a strict application of such penalties in terms to, if anyone is found to not to do certain sets on a virtual court hearing, then you are liable to certain action or you're liable to certain things and you face the wrath. Now, be it anyone, be it a young lawyer or be it anyone, it should be same for everyone. So but then yet again, we do have, as I just mentioned, that we do have these sort of impositions, but the application is very necessary for such penalties or any sort of stoppings that we would want to put on such decorums which are not accepted during a virtual court hearing. Also, when I talk about the decorum of these courtroom hearings, I feel that, but now if we talk about in a pool when we've logged in and there are other fellow counsels also and we're waiting for our matters, it will definitely take some time in which we are all required to obviously mute and hide our video when our matter is not called. When our matter is called, then definitely unmute and then present your case, go live. So these are such things that we need to obviously understand ourselves, but it will take a little time. However, if I talk about certain other decorums which you will not do if you are in a physical court, are some things that we need to ourselves also understand and follow once we are in a virtual court hearing. So I think this is all about it. But to maintain such decorum is difficult to control, because how will you manage someone speaking in four walls or doing something within four walls? But definitely certain things which are, as I just mentioned, that if you won't do it in a physical court hearing, obviously you won't do it in a virtual court hearing also. So it's difficult to control, but and also provided there should be strict impositions of certain penalties if someone is found irrespective of seniority. So this should be a way in which we can tackle such decorums in the court.
Thank you so
I
much,
think
ma'am.
just to add what Anushka ji has said, basically you cannot be smoking a hookah during a court hearing, or you cannot be sitting in a vest. What demeanor is required out of a lawyer to be properly presenting themselves before a court? We have an Advocates Act, we have a code of conduct in it. We cannot be just flouting it because we are sitting at the convenience of our home. Respect, has to be given. It's a mutual thing. Would you appreciate if a judge is sitting and eating a burger and listening to your argument? With half the food coming out of the mouth. I mean, that's unacceptable. Similarly, for a lawyer also, you cannot do these things which will lower the dignity of the institution. So I think that is what we have to understand.
Yes, sir. Totally agreed, sir. Sir, next question is to you, sir. What provisions are in force with respect to, sir, virtual courts?
What, sorry?
What provisions are in force with respect to virtual court hearings?
So when you say provisions, can you elaborate that a little bit?
Sir, provisions with regard to laws relating to virtual courts?
Right. So look, there is no hard and fast rule, because as of now, the courts are also getting used to the whole idea of how to conduct virtual court hearings. And as Anushka ji, currently said that even calling a court master at a VR, or, let's say, for example, like I represent Union of India, in Delhi High Court. So I let's say was marked the matter at 10 in the night through an email. Now, and the matter is listed the next day. Not only do I have to now find the particular person in the department who is the officer in charge, I may have a particular query about the court hearing and to get the link for the court hearing from the reader or the court master. So obviously, calling any person at 11 or 12 in the night is not right. But knowing fully well that the courts are known for their promptitude, and the court presides at 10:30. And if you don't have a link by 10 o'clock, your clients will be panicking, you will be panicking. And if you don't mark a matter, then it goes a problem. So I think those things are still in place. I think what can be eased as a matter of practice is the the rigmarole of registry. With the digitization, we have a system in place. But normally, initially, what used to happen, in traditional court hearing, your munshi or your clerk will go, and then the defects will be marked, and he'll be spending so many man hours there just wasting his time. So I think with digitization, if you can file something online, it's easier, than lot many things. And today, if the judges can read a PDF copy or read something which can be just filed electronically, then do we still have to make such a halabaloo about the margins, 3/4 margin, leave the space in the bottom, Judge Sahab can't read this, Judge Sahab will have this difficulty. So those things, I think with digitization will also wither away because it will be streamlined. Now I'm not doing anything, the computer is transcribing anything. I can maybe give a dictation to a Word document, and it can be typed out and go to a judge in a courtroom, and then they can see, and we can digitally do a pagination of a document. So I think all these things need to be eased out, because so much of, unnecessary registry objections used to come that it would frustrate you. Sometimes your time in getting a listing go and just to give you an example, just to have a case in point, I mentioned you about my Nainital High Court matter. I couriered my document and it took 2 weeks for the registry to even list a matter in Nainital High Court. So I had emailed it on the same day, but by the time the courier reached there and the registry still marked 3 defects. So my local counsel there then clarified those defects to the registry that these are not defects. We did not have a clear copy of the passport and this is the best copy that was available to you. So, registry, I think, should get out of this habit, and not the registry, because registry is functioning under the command of the judges also. The judiciary as such is get out of this habit of, unless the document is patently, illegible, कि आप पढ़ ही नहीं सकते, then you must not do this, I want this margin, I need this, I need that. Because, then you are doing a disservice to the country and you are doing a disservice to the people of this country. You are actually coming, to get justice. कोई गरीब आदमी है, just giving an example, उसको नहीं पता वकालत कैसे काम करती, let's say he even can't afford a counsel, and he goes to a legal aid person. Now the legal aid person in a jiffy, upload some document. As a matter of courtesy, read that document and then give justice to that. You can at least give a notice and then get the defects cured later. The urgency of any judicial matter is how quickly can the justice be given to an aggrieved party. And I think we must never lose our focus from that. So I think, just to sum it up, the registry and the whole system of these defects, which causes tremendous amount of delay and frustration, not only to the registry people, but also to the lawyers who are running from pillar to post, should be done away with, to my mind.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, moving on. Next question for Anushka ma'am. Ma'am, what are the ways in which the virtual court could be conducted in the lower courts?
You mean the effective ways in which virtual hearings can be conducted in lower courts?
Yes, ma'am. What would be the effective ways, ma'am?
I feel, as Mr. Jayant, my senior, did point out that we need a precise and a very good device mechanism in order to run these virtual court hearings effectively, be it in any court. So definitely there is a need of such mechanism in which we need to understand that there should be a good infrastructure in terms to good laptops or the platforms on which such virtual hearings are being conducted. That should be accessible to the staff or the judges who would be going live, along with to ensure that the internet on which these said things run should, at least for the judges or the court staff, should be defined as to that you require this much speed of internet in order to go on a hearing for tomorrow or whatever, or whenever you sign up for a hearing. So these are certain checks that one would need to understand and clarify also and pinpoint. Also, I feel that there is also a need in which a support system is very important for effective carry out of virtual court hearing in district court. So why I say support system is because I just gave you an example of the intolerance that has arisen because of the work pressures over the court staffs. So the support system, if I talk about vis-a-vis the court staffs, is that they should be sympathetic towards the questions being put up, or they should be sympathetic towards the confusion that is there. Because right now, there is a lot of confusion in the district courts in terms to how a matter is filed, criminal kahan jayega, civil kahan jayega. There is a separate forum jisme we have to make our login IDs, and because beforehand we used to think that jaise high court mein we have a proper layout in which we have to fill our details. In the same way, district court also had that. But until unless I didn't go to the court and I didn't understand that, oh, there is actually an email ID in which I have to give my case. I have to file my case. So this confusion has to be. So there is a lot of confusion. And now when there is a lot of confusion, the staff who's there maybe at the facilitation center or who's the reader, they have to be sympathetic towards the advocates at least who are asking you things in terms to only minimize the amount of the court only in terms to that कि कल को कुछ गलत file हो जाता है. So we are only, why are we doing this exercise and asking you questions only to save time of the court? That is it, nothing else. So the support system has to be there for sure. For an effective working, people have to be sympathetic today. And this is only with regards to the court staff. Now I turn to that the sympathetic nature has to also be in terms to the judges who are there at the district courts. They also have to be sympathetic towards the councils in terms to that if supposedly while hearing there is something that happens that I didn't know, and that was in terms to a genuine mistake of a procedure in which I maybe had to file something or maybe I had to upload a document on an email ID which I didn't know at all. And at this moment, I understand this is a fault on my part because I had to carry out deliberate checks and I had to check before I file a case. But there has to be a support system and there has to be a sympathetic approach towards at least in one go or second, or at least for once, let's say. If this sort of thing happens, the judges should be sympathetic towards the councils because it's a new thing for everyone. They should give that leeway to the councils that doesn't matter. We give you that leeway, you please go ahead. There are few judges who are very sympathetic even today in such times. But I have spoken to many fellow friends of mine and my fellow colleagues in the district courts in which this sympathetic nature is actually lacked. Because of that, people eventually say that कि यार ये तो बेकार है, virtual hearings तो करनी नहीं चाहिए, better the physical hearing करते, at least पता तो था करना क्या है. So this is the main thing. If you are sympathetic and you want to address queries, that's how you will work. That's how it will work in a holistic manner. It can't be just how we want that. It's not that advocates and litigants want virtual hearings. It has to be both ways. Once we join hands, then only we'll be able to take it forward to the next step. So I feel that this is the foremost important thing for an effective hearing. Then thereafter comes everything. Then comes the infrastructure, then comes a good internet, thereafter comes the imposition of penalties if the decorum is not followed. Because until and unless we have faith in this system, then only we will be able to follow out and carry out other things. If we don't have faith in the system, then we'll head back to physical hearings. As of now, there have been representations being filed because right now there are two opinions, and my senior would be well aware of that also. Right now there are two opinions. That first opinion is totally go virtually, totally go for a virtual hearing. The other opinion is that no, physical hearing is the thing. So these are things that we need to figure out. And hence, that's when I say that support system is very important. If we want to take this forward, we would need to work in a holistic manner.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for providing your opinion about it. Now, next question is for Jayan sir. Sir, what link does virtual courts have with open courts?
What link? So see, as far as links are concerned, most of the links are already given in the website for all the courts. If you go to the district court website, they have the link of virtual court hearing that you can just click on for a particular court. And even in a high court, the court master or the reader will provide you with a particular link by which you can connect with a virtual court hearing. So links are already provided. Things are a work in progress. As Anushka ji also just rightly mentioned, that it's a work in progress, but it's in the right direction. And I think it has to be a mix and match, because there are times when the servers are down, when the website is not working, you cannot avail of the link. Then you have no number, if the website is down, how will you find the number of a reader or a court master? Then that's again a problem. And, if you are not able to find an answer, the client will blame you. They will not blame the court. They will say a lawyer is ineffective or incompetent, let's take the file away from them. So this is a difficulty. One is a pandemic, because business is down. Second, in this downtime, if the client also takes away a brief from a lawyer who is already struggling to make ends meet, imagine how difficult it would be. So, like Supreme Court has a dedicated 100 Mbps of internet connection, but not all the courts in the country have that. So that is something that, needs to reach, so that there is no down internet time. Internet is a 24/7 essential service. I think in China, there is a district where there is a online court which runs 24/7 for petty matters. There is in Canada, in US, you have, in Singapore also you have, online court and streaming happening effectively. In Turkey, I think in 2002 or 2012, they were awarded a UN award also for an effective online court system, which saved their economy 100 $100 million US dollars. So that's a lot of money. So the links and everything can be done if we have a proper internet connectivity throughout the country that has to reach to the last mile. It has to be the last mile connectivity, So the last person in the remotest corner of India not only can just avail education by sitting remotely, can also avail justice, by sitting in the remote corner. Because idea is, if you cannot get justice, you will never have faith in the justice system. And that can only be done in today's time when you have a good internet connection, you have a good, what do you say, spectrum going on in the remotest corner. You have the judges and the staff and the lawyers not fighting with each other, but complementing each other in terms of facilitating the course of justice. So that is something I think that we have to work towards.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving with Anushka ma'am. Ma'am, a virtual hearing has become an easier source to provide justice in a speedy manner to the individual. Now, please, ma'am, share your view on it.
Absolutely. I think I and Mr. Jayant, my senior, we've been speaking on these lines itself on this question already. However, I feel that it is speedy in terms to filing. It is speedy in terms to hearing of a matter. But then there are certain aspects like the recording of evidences and maybe final arguments, if any. I think in those scenarios, even the judges are right now inclined towards taking it up in a physical form rather than a virtual hearing. So it is speedy in this manner. However, there are other aspects also which needs to be taken into consideration, and I feel that it's actually divided. So yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir and ma'am, for enlightening with your knowledge and expertise. Now we are starting with question and answer session. So I request host to unmute one by one those who are raising their hands. Yes.
Hello. Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, my question to the same madam. Adding to the statement of the madam, the virtual court hearing, because of the virtual court hearing, there may be undue influence or coercion also. This may not lead a real judgment. This will not lead to a actual judgment also. I feel it is the virtual court hearing should be as soon as been ended. What's your opinion, sir?
When you say, sir, coercion and undue influence, what do you mean? You mean that I am going to influence the judge, or am I going to influence the witness? Who am I influencing?
Sir, you are not a host. Can you ask the there was a problem in the signal error near me. Host, can you ask my question as I mentioned in the box?
No, I've understood your question, but I'm putting a clarification. I need a clarification. When you say undue influence and coercion, what do you mean? Undue influence and coercion on the judge, on the opposite lawyer?
No, sir, not on the judge, on the witness.
Look, trials are not happening in virtual courts hearing. That's the the flip side of virtual court hearing, because courts also understand that there may be influence, there may be coercion, there may be manipulation, there may be other strategy which may be deployed. So trials across the country, unfortunately, have come to a standstill. Courts are still trying to find a way. So virtual courts hearing are only happening in arguments, where arguments are being advanced, final hearing matters, interim applications are being heard, but no trials are happening. So that is still at a standstill, and you have a valid point on that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Myself is Pushpa Kumar.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, next participant.
Karthik, you can ask your question.
Good evening, sir. My name is Karthik. Actually, I have one question regarding criminal justice system. we have a criminal justice system that the culprit and the victim has to get what they're supposed to get, they will get. But in the recent development through a virtual hearing, is it a kind of risk that we are taking while hearing through Zoom app system, Zoom or virtually? The, the witness and the parties shouldn't get heard proper way, I think. What's your advice and what is your view on that actually?
Sir, I lost you a little bit in between. If you can just complete the question.
Yeah. Actually, in a criminal justice system, recently we are taking a case through us virtually. Is it a kind of fault that we are making that both the parties should heard in a proper manner? The technical error or glitches, the parties couldn't get what the state couldn't state that statement in front of the judge in a proper manner.
Mm-hmm. See, if there are glitches.
Yeah, what's your advice on that? And yeah.
I don't know, sir, if you're a litigant or a lawyer, but at least my personal advice would be if there are technical glitches, please write an email to the concerned court explaining properly that there were technical glitches, or maybe if there was electricity cut off, there can be other reasons also, or maybe your mobile phone ran out of battery, but it has to be a plausible explanation to the court. So you have to give that. There may be glitches on the court side also because of poor internet connectivity or any other extraneous reasons. So you must bring it to the attention, because I'll give you an example. It just, I think, happened last week in Justice Nariman's court in Supreme Court, where he personally commented on a counsel saying that the counsel, despite the court asking him to present his case, he did not present his case, and that got recorded in the order in an adverse manner. But later the counsel said, I was not waiting for a senior because I did not engage any senior. Please expunge this. And later when the court realized their own mistake, they expunged the statement. So these things happen, but then you have to be, forthcoming with the right explanation and excuses as to why, if it was a technical glitch on your side, why there was a technical glitch, and if it was a technical glitch on the side of the court, then you must seek an explanation from the court staff. I think you have muted the person who was asking the question, so I don't know if he has received an answer. Organizer, hello.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That's what I want to ask.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Garv, you can ask your question.
Hello. A very good evening to the learned counsels. So, like both of you, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, like both of you very well mentioned about the virtualizations of courts and district courts, Supreme Courts, High Courts. Can you please shed a light on the virtualization of new ADR mechanisms as well? Because this is also a very grave concern because of the Lok Adalats, mediations, arbitrations. What will be the future for them now?
Madam, please go ahead. I'll answer after you.
So as of now, as it's very new for all of us, I have been technically and primarily being engaged in terms to the district courts. However, I have been having words with my fellow counsels and my fellow friends and my fellow colleagues in the said system. I definitely feel, it will not be different, because whatever problems that we are facing, be it in the High Court or the District Court or the Supreme Court, these would be the set of same sort of an issues that we'll definitely see, and somehow or the other how these issues will definitely pertain if we talk about the ADR mechanisms at hand. However, I feel that if we talk about mediation, I am of the opinion that mediation always has that human touch in it. So I feel that the virtual court, the virtual hearings, if we talk about in terms to mediation, will not give that much of an effect, which in terms to would have been if we go forward with a physical sort of a physical course in mediation. Because mediation is one scenario in which we definitely want that physical involvement of parties and the physical engagement of parties. If we talk about mediation in family matters, or we talk about other personal issues which have to be mediated beforehand. So for such sort of instances, I feel that physical approach is much better in as compared to the virtual hearings, because then again we have the issues of coercion and undue influence over the people. We don't know what, how and where are they standing if we talk about virtual hearings being conducted, if I talk about mediation. So, and rest about the other mechanisms, I feel that having not practiced right now in the other mechanisms, but definitely having an experience after listening to my fellow colleagues on the said aspect, I feel that the set of problems that we are facing right now is something the same that in the ADR mechanisms also, these problems are somewhere looming in the same fashion. I give it to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Just to add on to what Anushka ma'am has said, as I said in my opening comments, please read the parliamentary report. It addresses all these aspects. So I'll answer your question one by one. So far as you are talking of Lok Adalats, Lok Adalats look after petty criminal offences like check bounce, electricity theft, traffic challans, etc. There is a proposal that if these courts are done virtually, because they don't require so much of physical hearing, that a lot of harassment will be saved. Today, if you can just check on an online website about a traffic challan, or your basic electricity theft matter accusation, that can be dealt easily in a Lok Adalat virtually also. So far as me, and again, I in fact participated in a few mediations during the lockdown in the Delhi High Court mediation cell, and they were very effective. If the parties want to mediate, they want to settle, it's a human psyche, they will settle, and they are happening virtually. Arbitrations, they are also happening virtually. Even international arbitration are happening virtually, because that is saving so much of cost to big ticket arbitration, where eventually if you're, let's say, a famous counsel, you will ask your client to book your Mercedes, then you'll ask your client to book you a 5-star hotel, then you ask your client to book a business class. So all those costs are now getting saved by business houses, even in an international arbitration. But yes, so far as the evidence is concerned, and I would agree with my learned colleague Anushka ji here, she said you have to put it at par, because when we talk of evidence either in arbitration or in a trial, the same mechanism has to evolve. So far as evidence procedure in arbitration is concerned or in trial court is concerned, they are still getting tested. But yes, the world is moving ahead with it, and VC is the next new thing. It's a game changer for all of us.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, myself Sakshi. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, madam.
Yes. So I have a question for you. This is with respect to what you've just said, that virtual courts are the next thing. So, in your opinion, do you think that having the traditional court and side by side we could have virtual court system at least up to the trial procedure? I mean, do you see that we will have more of virtual courts in the future with respect to mediation, the normal civil suits and arbitration? What do you think? What's your opinion on that? Should we have the two going simultaneously, and one could prefer, having matters heard virtually?
Right. I think, Sakshi, it has to be a mix and match of both the traditional court hearing and the virtual court hearing, because they are complementary in nature. Look, virtual courts are also being held by actual judges, sitting judges. They are not being held by computers or robots or AI.
Yes.
But so far as the trials are concerned, I think we'll still have to devise a very, very robust mechanism to ensure that even if we transcend them into a virtual court hearing later, there are checks and balances in place by which the effectiveness of a trial is not compromised, and that has to be the paramount consideration.
Right.
So far as other arguments and basic hearings and IAs are concerned, I think VC has to be the continuation.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. So, for example, when you go to a trial court, sometimes in normal scenario, what will happen? You would not know whether judge is on holiday or not. So much of your man hours are wasted just driving, finding a parking, going, and you realize that just a chutti pe. So those things are now also getting saved, because a reader can tell you judge is not sitting because they are not well.
Yes.
So things are moving. I think in the right direction, and I think mix and match. Why? Because as I said, we still need a more number of judges in the judiciary, because if people start believing in the system more and more
Exactly.
cases are going to come. So if today one judge is deciding 100 matters, please understand the burden on that particular judge. that burden also is also the duty of the government to be reduced on that person, so that, you know, as a human being, he can have a good work-life balance, or she can have a good work-life balance. Similarly, I think if you have more number of judges, if a judge can give a patient hearing to 20 or 30 matters, then it will be a matter of quality versus quantity. You will have more quality number of cases, quality number of judges, and quality number of judgments coming out. So I think it's a long run process. We still have to see how much of funds government can allocate to the judiciary in the longer run. And if on one hand the parliamentary committee report says, look, the government is going to save money in terms of not building infrastructures, you know, for multiple tribunals, then that money can be, I think, safeguarded in recruiting more number of judges, to you know, according to me.
Absolutely. So that's a good viewpoint in that sense. But so there are I've attended a couple of webinars during this time, and some of the judges are very much in favor of virtual courts, and yet there are some judges who are very, you know, I can say have some, you know, traditional views and orthodox views as to it, that they think that, you know, all of this is not possible. There are a lot of senior advocates who believe that, you know, advocacy is an art form, in that sense that, you know, standing beside your counsel, I think you make, you know, different kind of arguments, and it's a way of, you know, the way that it's been working on since many years. So I think this shift is going to be very difficult, but I also believe that it's much needed in that sense, because right now we are somewhere in a fix where, you know, some people are so against it and some are so, you know, pro it. I find you to be kind of pro in the favor of virtual courts in that sense.
Madam, all I'm in favor of is justice to be meted out to people, and, you know, change is the only constant, and people have always resisted change. So there will be resistance, but if it's in a favor of the greater good, then I don't think it should be resisted.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nabanita, you can ask your question.
Hello, Nabanita. You. Hello, Shushmita ma'am, you can ask your question.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, good evening. Actually, I have a question. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah, audible. Actually, I have one question. As Anushka ma'am says about mediation in virtual court. So I would like to ask that if mediation is not good in virtual court, then what we to do, because there is physical appearance order has given already, but court is not sitting on that particular day. Even court has physical and virtual both in lower court. Okay, so what will be the impact on that case or family, if there is family matters going on and it is on the basis of just disposal of the case? So what will be the impact of the case or family? Hello.
So the I did hear you. Thank you so much for your question. When you say impact on the family, what do you mean by this? This is in terms to if supposedly we don't go ahead with a virtual court hearing for a mediation, then what is the impact on the family, if I've understood it correctly?
Okay, I actually two party that there is a 498A cases as is in the process, but because of this COVID-19, this pandemic situation, the second party is not appeared in the court and virtual court too. So what will the impact on that person who has done 498A case? That is lady.
So I think this question is more of in a scenario in which the other party fails to come either in a physical hearing or a virtual court hearing, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So see, this is a situation in which either we go ahead with the physical hearing or we go ahead with a virtual court hearing. This is one sort of a situation which can come in both of the scenarios. So the best possible out in this point of scenario could be that we can tell the mediator in terms to that the other party is avoiding, unnecessarily avoiding to come and to present himself in the said proceeding, and certain actions should be taken, or one two chances should be given in this sort of a scenario, and if it can continue, then the matter can go to the court. And the
So
definitely the
can this matter will be finalized in that particular home as well, without outside the court? Is it legally outside the court?
we talk about a virtual hearing could be done anywhere. It could be done in your house premises also. It could be done in an area in which you log in with a link that has been provided to you.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be done anywhere.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Nabanita, you can ask your question.
Ma'am, please ask your question. Nabanita, ma'am.
Virtually conducting.
I think she is not there.
The pitfalls of a virtual webinar.
Yes, true, sir. So, Rashmi, ma'am, you can ask your question.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. My question is like how to minimize the psychological pressure like in virtual court hearing, because
I think she has been muted. Organizer?
Yes, sir, I have unmuted that.
Madam Rashmi Kumari was asking. I think she has raised a hand also. She has been muted.
Ma'am, you can unmute from the option given below. Some network glitch, I think, sir.
I think a few other participants have their mic on, but the one who wants to ask has a mic off.
Yes, sir. Hello, Rashmi, ma'am. Hello.
Rashmi, ma'am, you can ask your questions. Otherwise, nothing. We should move ahead.
Yeah. Garv Singh is there for it. Garv. Hello. You can ask your question, sir.
Hello. Hi. Am I audible again? Yeah. So actually, I'm a fourth year law student. So I wanted to know that all our colleges are closed and whatever is happening is very limited. And at this point of time, we were trying to do internships if there wouldn't be any emergency. So like, what are your views? Like, what do you like say that what should the law students do? Like fifth year law students and fourth year law students, what should be the next step? So because there's no internships, there's no, if I may say, quality education. So what should happen?
Madam, you answer. As a recent graduate, I'll only supplement what you say.
Thank you, sir. Garv, you have many opportunities right now. In fact, I'll actually put it in this sort of. Why I'm saying that is because at this point of time, you can explore various opportunities in terms to virtual internships that have just taken up. many offices and many lawyers and upcoming lawyers and the upcoming small law firms are offering virtual internships. And I think this is a very good time in which you can go forward to these virtual internships and do a good research as to what all offices are actually in which there's actual work, in which there's actual research, or actually the offices are giving something to draft maybe. So do a research in terms to that, speak with your other friends also, talk about this with them. There are many offices at this point of time which are offering very good virtual internships that too are giving stipends. So talking about me, I personally have been dealing with virtual interns, and I've been giving a lot of variety of research and draftings to an extent. Also, along with a little bit of remuneration, which I've always felt when I was an intern, that a small amount of remuneration always helps in terms to development of a person totally. One thing is this. Second thing is, during this pandemic, you have options in which you can identify your area of interest. As you've just told me, you are a fourth year law student. So I am sure that as of now, maybe you have understood what your area of interest is, or maybe you are at the lookout. So this is the time when you have ample of opportunities to explore, go for different offices in virtual internships, try out criminal virtual internships, or try out some other area of law virtual internships, write papers in different areas of laws, get it published, in which you will identify what is your area of interest. So this is the most important thing. Why? Because the moment you graduate, you need to either understand what your area of interest is and then only go ahead with the areas that you would want to work in, or go ahead with that office that deals with that set of areas. Because I know many people who once graduate, they then look out as to what do they want to do. Like they don't know whether they would want to go into a criminal law office or they would want to go for a corporate sector. So that is the problem. So now that you have time, utilize this, because you don't have college, you do not have your attention being diverted to many other areas. So focus on yourself right now, and by doing all these things, you'll understand your areas of interest. Also, colleges today are now coming up with virtual competitions, virtual moot court competitions, and various other virtual competitions. Go and participate on that, because I mean, let's accept this, sooner or later, this is the next future. Virtual, everything being virtual is the next future. So the more and more you adapt yourself by speaking in front of a laptop hours and hours, that's how you will, hone your skills, and that's how you will get prepared for the future, is what my take at least is on this. I give it to sir.
I think ma'am has already said what required to be said in the larger context. I think Garv is still raising his hand. Maybe you can unmute him if he has a follow-up clarification. Organizer, can you unmute Mr. Garv Singh? I think he was raising his hand.
Left, or I think maybe internet connection got lost.
Yes, sir. He has lowered his hand, sir.
No, I completely got your point. Thank you so much. And please do share your numbers as well, so that we can contact you further for the internships.
Definitely, we'll leave our email IDs with the organizers, and I think that will take it forward on the.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My name is Avinash Shukla. I have a specific question about NCLT and NCLAT, to whom this virtual hearing has also been extended. So currently, only the urgent matters are being taken up and heard by the NCLTs. I want the panel to throw some light on what will be the scenario in future when the normal hearings will take place, and will there be a fusion of physical hearing as well as the virtual hearing? And what could you foresee the scenario like when the courts normalize? When NCLT forums like NCLT and NCLAT normalize?
I think we've already discussed this in the past 1 hour, because what applies to a court also extends to a tribunal. And I think your guess is as good as mine. Whether it's a mix of things, whether it's completely virtual. As of now, as I said, the parliamentary committee suggests that virtual court should go on, because that's one way of instilling a good, curriculum and a good habit in all of us. Because the moment you go back to your own, or we all go back to our own rigors, then it's always very difficult to, jumpstart a thing. So I think, at least so far as appellate forum are concerned, including your NCLAT or NCDRC or TDSAT and other things, they don't have any, trial procedure. They are only appellate forums. So I think they can be completely virtual. So far as the NCLT is concerned, if there's a trial or evidence to be taking place, our answer, I think, and I'll speak for Anushka ji also here, with your permission now, that it will still remain the same, because the process of trial will have to be figured out in the longer run, whether it can be a mix and match or it will have to be only physical. So that will have to wait.
Yukteswari, you can ask your
Good evening to one and all. Am I audible?
Ji.
Good evening, sir. My question was to you that what do you think that the lawyers or the court personals should be allowed to sit in their cabins in the courts physically, or should be equipped with free Wi-Fi services from the courts if they don't have internet connectivity or electricity problems?
Look, normally, if you see most of the court chambers and electricity in the court chambers as it is subsidized, because special concessions and subsidies are provided to the lawyers. So far as I think your 4G network is concerned, it's a matter of how that telecoms are regulating it, and how if they can upgrade 4G to 5G or 6G eventually, and then provide better seamless service without signal drops. That is very important, because almost, at least in the metros, almost every person is on a smartphone. So I don't think that should be a problem. And so far as lawyers sitting in their chamber or at their home making argument is concerned, I don't think there is anything wrong with it. Look, not every lawyer charges 20 lakh rupees or can afford to charge 20 lakh rupees in appearance. There is a different financial bracket in the industry. But yes, as I said, a lawyer should be respectable to the court. You cannot be sitting at home, lying on your bed in a vest and addressing a court. That's unacceptable. We have to take these things seriously. But internet service, then there is no end to it, because you would not know how many lawyers to provide for internet services and what type of plan would they be wanting. There are different plans, there are different range of plans, and then the bar council will be ripped of the savings of the money that they have. So I don't think that would be a very wise move at this point. Maybe in the future one can mull about it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. So proceeding ahead, at last, I would proceed with the vote of thanks. On behalf of Iris Jura family, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who are directly and indirectly contributed to make this webinar a successful one. At the outset, I thank our honorable speakers, Advocate Jayant Bhatt sir and Advocate Anushka Arora ma'am, as we are enlightened with your knowledge and presence. It was quite informative session over how the upcoming future will be with more virtual court hearings. It will be great pleasure to us to have you both in more such webinars. A special thanks to the organizing committee for the unflinching support and coordination. A heartfelt thanks to all the participants and legal fraternity who have joined with us today and make this webinar a successful one. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, participants. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
And so it was pleasure once again, sir.
Pleasure, ma'am. Pleasure.